My name is Tom Grant, and I'm probably the only guy in this Rust Belt town who actually does his own laundry. Not by choice, mind you. My wife Natalie stopped touching my clothes about 6 months ago, right around the time she discovered the gym and started coming home smelling like expensive cologne that sure wasn't mine. I'm 40 years old, used to be a firefighter until my back gave out. Now I inspect buildings for the city. It's honest work, pays decent, and gives me plenty of time to notice things. Like how Natalie's phone buzzes at weird hours. Like how she suddenly needs girls' nights 3 times a week. Like how our 15-year-old daughter Zoe started avoiding family dinners. Working late again? I asked Natalie last Tuesday, watching her check her reflection in the hallway mirror for the 3rd time. Big project, she said, not meeting my eyes. David needs the HR reports finished tonight. David Kessler, her boss at the tech firm downtown, married guy, drives a Tesla, wears suits that cost more than my monthly salary. I've met him twice at company parties. Both times he looked at me like I was something stuck to his shoe. That night, I found Natalie's second phone in the laundry basket. Not hidden, just forgotten in her gym bag pocket. The screen lit up with a text from DK that made my stomach drop. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Same hotel? I put the phone back exactly where I found it. Didn't confront her, didn't yell. Instead, I called my buddy Pete Rodriguez, who used to be a cop before he went private investigator. You sure you want to know? Pete asked when I explained the situation. I'm sure I want evidence, I said. The next Friday, I followed Natalie to the Marriott downtown, watched her walk into the lobby like she owned the place. 20 minutes later, David's Tesla pulled up. He didn't even try to be subtle. Pete got photos, license plates, credit card receipts, all legal, all admissible. But I wanted more than a divorce settlement. I wanted justice. That weekend, Natalie came home with shopping bags from stores we couldn't afford, new dresses, new perfume, new jewelry. She hummed while she cooked dinner, actually smiled at me across the table. You seem happy, I said. Just enjoying life, she replied. You should try it sometime. Zoe picked at her food, glanced between us like she was watching a tennis match. Smart kid. She knew something was wrong. Later that night, I heard Natalie on the phone in the bathroom. Water running, voice low, but I caught fragments through the door. He doesn't suspect anything. Next week, your wife won't find out. I went to bed that night planning my next move. See, most guys would storm in, demand explanations, make threats. But I learned something fighting fires. The best way to stop a blaze is to cut off its fuel supply and let it burn itself out. Natalie thought she was playing me. What she didn't realize was that I'd been watching her game for months, learning the rules, figuring out how to win. The restaurant receipt I found in her purse the next morning was the final piece I needed. Chez Laurent, downtown. 2 dinners, 2 drinks, dessert to share. She told me she was at her book club that night. I knew then that the only thing she hated more than getting caught was losing control of the narrative. Time to change the story. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Table for 6, I told the hostess at Chez Laurent the following Friday. Grant party. The place was packed, which was exactly what I needed. Witnesses, atmosphere, social media potential. I'd spent the week preparing. Pete helped me gather more evidence. Bank statements showing mysterious cash withdrawals, hotel receipts, even a recording of Natalie coaching Zoe to lie about her whereabouts. All obtained legally, all devastating. The key was David's wife, Lisa. Successful lawyer, ice-cold reputation, zero tolerance for embarrassment. I'd met her once at a charity function. She struck me as the type who valued her image above everything else. Getting her here took one phone call. Mrs. Kessler, this is Tom Grant, Natalie's husband. I think we need to talk about our spouses. She arrived 15 minutes early, wearing a black dress that probably cost more than my car. 2 other people flanked her, lawyers by the look of them. Mr. Grant, she said, extending a manicured hand. I assume you have proof of these allegations. I slid a manila envelope across the table. Photos, receipts, text messages, all legally obtained. She examined the contents with the detached professionalism of someone dissecting evidence. Her expression never changed, but her grip on the papers tightened. What exactly do you want? She asked. Justice, I said. Public, humiliating. Complete justice. At 8:30, right on schedule, Natalie walked in. She dressed carefully. The red dress David bought her, the necklace she claimed was from her sister. She looked around the restaurant, spotted me, and froze. David appeared behind her, hand on her lower back, guiding her toward what he thought was their private corner table. He saw me a second later. Tom? Natalie's voice cracked. "What are you doing here?" "Having dinner with my lawyer," I said, gesturing to Lisa. "And yours." David's face went white. Lisa stood slowly, like a judge about to deliver a verdict. "Hello, darling," she said to her husband. "Fancy meeting you here?" The restaurant noise seemed to fade. Other diners started noticing the drama unfolding. I saw phones coming out, people leaning closer to listen. "Lisa, I can explain," David started. "Oh, I'm sure you can," she cut him off. "Just like you explained those hotel charges on our credit card, the ones you claimed were business meetings." Natalie tried to salvage the situation. "This is all a misunderstanding. Tom's been acting unstable lately." I pulled out my phone and played the recording. Natalie's voice, crystal clear. "He's so pathetic. Sits at home in his worn work clothes while I'm out living my real life. David says we can be together once I get rid of the useless ones." The color drained from her face. David looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. "There's more," I announced, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Bank records showing David embezzling company funds to pay for hotels and gifts, text messages discussing how to frame me for workplace violations, even a lovely recording of my wife coaching our daughter to lie in court. Lisa's lawyer leaned forward. "We'll need copies of everything." "Already prepared," I said, handing over USB drives. "One for you, one for David's company board, one for the family court judge." Natalie finally found her voice. "You can't do this. You're destroying our family." "No," I said, standing up. "You destroyed our family. I'm just making sure everyone knows who struck the match." David tried to grab my arm as I walked past. "You don't understand the situation." "I understand perfectly," I said, shaking him off. "You're a cheating, stealing, pathetic excuse for a man who thought he could ruin my life and walk away clean. How's that working out for you?" The entire restaurant was watching now. Phones recording, whispers spreading. Natalie stood there in her expensive dress, tears running down her face, while David tried to convince his wife that somehow this wasn't what it looked like. I left them there, in the wreckage of their perfect little secret, and walked out into the night air feeling lighter than I had in months. But this was just the beginning. Natalie came home at 2 a.m, slamming doors and throwing things. I pretended to be asleep, listening to her rage through the house like a tornado. "I know you're awake," she hissed from the doorway. "You think you're so smart, don't you?" I rolled over, looked at her calmly. "I think I'm tired. Long day at work." "This isn't over, Tom. You have no idea what you've started." She was right about that. What I'd started was war, and I intended to win. The next morning, Pete called with bad news. "She filed for an emergency restraining order, claims you threatened her, says she's afraid for her safety." "Based on what evidence?" "Zoe gave a statement, says you've been acting erratic, talking about revenge, making her mother scared to come home." I felt my chest tighten. Using our daughter as a weapon was a new low, even for Natalie. "The hearing's tomorrow," Pete continued. "You need a lawyer." "I need something better than a lawyer," I said. "I need the truth." That afternoon, I drove to David's condo complex. His vintage Mustang sat in the parking garage like a shrine to his ego. Pristine condition, probably worth more than most people's houses. I'd brought a bucket of paint stripper from a construction site, industrial strength, the kind that could strip decades of paint in minutes. The security cameras were positioned to watch the entrance, not individual parking spots. I poured the chemical over the hood, trunk, and roof, then stepped back to admire my work. By the time David found his car, the paint was bubbling and peeling like sunburned skin. His scream echoed through the garage. I was waiting by the elevator when he came running up, face red with rage. "You psychopath! Do you know what that car was worth?" "About as much as my marriage," I said. "Which is to say, nothing, thanks to you." He swung at me. I ducked, grabbed his wrist, and twisted just hard enough to make him yelp. "Careful, David. Assault charges would look bad on your resume." "I'll destroy you," he snarled. "I'll take everything you have." "You already tried," I said, releasing his arm. "How'd that work out?" He chased me through the parking garage, shouting threats and obscenities. I led him toward the construction site next door, where Pete was waiting with a camera. "This way, David," I called, jogging between concrete barriers and equipment. "Let's talk about this like civilized adults." He followed, too angry to think clearly. I ducked behind a portable toilet unit, waited for him to round the corner, then slammed the door shut and threw the latch. "Let me out," he screamed, pounding on the walls. "This is kidnapping." "This is justice," I called back. "Pete, are you getting this?" My friend grinned, holding up his phone. "Live streaming to social media. Your boyfriend's having quite the meltdown." We left David there, broadcasting his humiliation to the world, and drove back to town. My phone buzzed with notifications, shares, comments, reactions. The video was going viral. That evening, Zoe knocked on my bedroom door. She looked younger than 15, scared and confused. "Dad, Mom says you're going to lose everything. She says I have to testify against you or we'll end up homeless." I sat on the bed, patted the space beside me. "What do you think, kiddo? Do I seem like a dangerous person to you?" She shook her head. "But Mom showed me the restraining order. She says you threatened her." "Your mom is scared," I said carefully. "But not of me. She's scared of losing control, of facing consequences for her choices, and she's using you to fight her battles." Zoe was quiet for a long moment. Then, I heard her on the phone with Monica. She was laughing about how easy it was to coach me, how judges always believe kids. My heart broke a little. "What do you want to do?" "I want to tell the truth," she said, "but I'm scared of making Mom angry." "Sometimes doing the right thing makes people angry," I said, "but that doesn't make it wrong." She hugged me then, fierce and tight. "I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't want to lie, but," she said. "I know," I said. "It's not your fault." But it was Natalie's fault, and David's, and I wasn't finished with either of them. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop now, or we'll make you stop. You have no idea who you're messing with." I showed it to Pete. He laughed. "They're desperate," he said. "Desperate people make mistakes." "Good," I said. "I'm counting on it." Monica called me Tuesday morning, which was surprising since she'd been one of Natalie's closest allies in the Girls' Night Brigade. "Tom, we need to talk. Can you meet me for coffee?" She looked nervous when I arrived at the diner downtown, glancing around like she expected Natalie to materialize from thin air. "She offered me $5,000, Monica said without preamble. "To lie in court, say I witnessed you threatening her. And I told her to go to heck." Monica leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Tom, you need to know what she's been saying about you, about Zoe. It's awful." She pulled out her phone, showed me a recording. Natalie's voice, clear and vicious. "Tom's such a loser. Zoe's just like him. Weak, stupid, always whining about her problems. I can't wait to get them both out of my life permanently." My hands clenched into fists. Talking about me was one thing, but attacking our daughter crossed every line. "There's more," Monica continued. "She's been recording conversations with Zoe, coaching her on what to say, promising her a new car if she testifies against you." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I have a daughter, too," Monica said. "And what Natalie's doing is wrong. Kids shouldn't be weapons." I copied the recordings to my phone, thanked Monica, and started planning phase 2 of my campaign. The school spring carnival was that weekend. Half the town would be there, including all the gossipy parents who formed the backbone of local social media. Perfect venue for maximum impact. I volunteered to help with the sound system, which gave me access to the PA equipment. Pete helped me prepare a special presentation, a carefully edited compilation of Natalie's worst moments set to play during the evening announcements. Saturday night, families gathered around the main stage for the principal's closing remarks. I waited until the crowd was at its largest, then activated my surprise. Natalie's voice boomed across the carnival grounds. "These people are all idiots. Soccer moms with nothing better to do than gossip about each other's marriages. If they knew what I really thought of them." Heads turned, phones came out, parents started recording. The principal frantically tried to shut off the sound system, but I'd disabled the main controls. The audio continued, Natalie mocking her coworkers, calling her clients pathetic losers, describing in detail how she planned to destroy Tom's credibility and make sure he never sees Zoe again. Then came the worst part, her voice coaching Zoe. "Just cry a little when you tell the judge how scared you are. Remember, we need him to believe Daddy's dangerous." The crowd erupted. Parents who'd known our family for years stared in shock. Natalie, who'd been working the cotton candy booth, tried to run toward the stage, but people blocked her path, demanding explanations. "This is fake!" she screamed. "He doctored the recordings." But Monica stepped forward with her phone. "No, Natalie, this is you. This is exactly who you are." The principal finally cut the power, but it was too late. Videos of Natalie's outburst were already spreading across social media. Parents who'd respected her, trusted her with school committees and fundraisers, now saw her true face. She fled the carnival in tears, but not before I caught her eye across the crowd. The look she gave me was pure hatred. Good. I was just getting started. Sunday morning, I delivered a package to David's office building. Not to him, but to the board of directors. Inside was a comprehensive dossier of his financial irregularities, his abuse of company resources, and his pattern of harassment toward female employees. By Monday, he was suspended pending investigation. By Tuesday, local news picked up the story of the carnival confession and ran interviews with shocked parents. By Wednesday, Natalie's employer received anonymous tips about her involvement in David's schemes and her plans to file false police reports. She came home Thursday night looking defeated, dark circles under her eyes, designer clothes wrinkled and stained. "You're destroying everything," she said, standing in our kitchen like a stranger. "I'm revealing everything," I corrected. "There's a difference. Zoe won't even talk to me. My job is reviewing my performance. My friends won't return my calls." "Actions have consequences," I said. "You taught me that." She laughed bitterly. "You think you've won? This isn't over, Tom. David and I were not going down without a fight." "Bring it," I said. "I've got nothing left to lose." That was my mistake. I still had plenty to lose, and they were about to remind me exactly how much. The storm hit Friday night like nature's own drama soundtrack. Thunder, lightning, rain hammering the windows. Perfect weather for a final confrontation. I was in my workshop when the security system chimed. Someone was in the backyard, moving toward the house. The motion sensors tracked two figures, trying to stay out of range of the cameras. Natalie and David, making their last desperate play. I'd been expecting this. Pete and I had spent the week preparing, turning my house into a trap worthy of a home security commercial. Motion detectors, cameras in every room, smart locks that could be controlled from my phone. They came through the basement window, thinking they were clever. I watched them on my tablet, creeping through the lower level like amateur burglars. Natalie led the way, using her phone's flashlight to navigate. "His office is upstairs," I heard her whisper. "All the evidence is on his computer." They climbed the basement stairs, stepped into my kitchen, and triggered the first surprise. Every light in the house blazed on simultaneously, along with a pre-recorded message playing through the sound system. "Welcome to my home, Natalie and David. I've been expecting you." They froze like deer in headlights. David grabbed a kitchen knife from the counter, which was exactly what I'd hoped he'd do. Nothing like an armed intruder to justify whatever happened next. "Tom," Natalie called out, "we just want to talk." "Then you should have knocked," I replied through the intercom system. "Breaking and entering is a felony." I activated the smart locks, sealing every exit. They were trapped, and they knew it. "Let us out," David shouted, waving the knife at the nearest camera. "This is false imprisonment." "This is justice," I said, stepping into the kitchen behind them. They spun around, David raising the knife defensively. He looked pathetic. Expensive clothes soaked with rain, hair plastered to his head, eyes wild with panic. "Put the knife down, David," I said calmly. "You're already in enough trouble." "You're insane," he snarled. "You can't keep us here?" "I'm not keeping you anywhere. You broke into my house, remember? I'm just documenting everything for the police." Natalie tried a different approach. "Tom, please, we can work this out. I made mistakes, but we can fix this." "The only mistake you made was thinking I was stupid enough to let you get away with it." She started crying. Real tears this time, not the manufactured ones she'd used to manipulate Zoe. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far." "You meant every bit of it," I said. "You wanted to destroy me, take my daughter, and ride off into the sunset with your boyfriend. The only thing you're sorry about is getting caught." David made his move then, lunging at me with the knife. I sidestepped, grabbed a cast-iron pan from the stove, and knocked the blade from his hand. He stumbled, crashed into the kitchen island, and went down hard. "Stay down," I advised, standing over him with the pan. "You've embarrassed yourself enough for one night." The front door burst open. Pete entered with 2 police officers, all of them soaking wet from the storm. "Officers," I said, setting down the pan. "Thank you for responding so quickly. I have 2 intruders who broke into my house and threatened me with a knife." The cops looked at David on the floor, the knife on the counter, Natalie crying in the corner. The story was obvious. "We got the call about a break-in," one officer said. "You the homeowner?" "Tom Grant. These are my wife and her boyfriend. Soon-to-be ex-wife, obviously." While the police took statements, I played them the security footage. Natalie and David entering through the basement window, David grabbing the knife, his attack on me. Everything documented in high definition. "We'll need them to come to the station," the senior officer said. "Breaking and entering, attempted assault, probably more charges once we review everything." As they led David away in handcuffs, he turned back to me with pure hatred in his eyes. "This isn't over," he said. "Yeah, it is," I replied. Natalie lingered in the doorway, looking back at the house we'd shared for 15 years. "I loved you once," she said quietly. No, I said. You loved what I could give you. There's a difference. She left without another word, climbing into the police car that would take her downtown for booking. Pete clapped me on the shoulder as we watched the taillights disappear into the storm. Feel better? He asked. I feel like myself again, I said. The rain was letting up, and through the clouds I could see stars beginning to appear. Tomorrow, the whole town would know what had happened. Natalie and David's reputations would be finished, their careers destroyed, their futures ruined. I'd won, completely, decisively, permanently. But the best part wasn't their defeat. It was knowing that Zoe would grow up understanding that actions have consequences, that justice exists, and that sometimes the good guys really do win. I stood on my front porch, watching the storm clouds clear, and smiled. The bridge was burned. There was no going back. And I was perfectly fine with that.